in the country. Our value system is quite clear. Trust, as we simplify it. We are transparent in terms of our dealings with our stakeholders. Our intention is to actually that we need to build that rapport amongst ourselves, and we are responsible. We own exactly what we do. We take in responsibility, unity, both in the sector, across all the value chains and with employers, skills development facilitators, and many others that are playing in this space. Service delivery, that is the core of what we are doing through skills development, and teamwork, which is something that we're actually encouraging and also exploring now on this particular platform. The next slide. It's not working this time. It's not. Should I switch it on? Yes, apologies. Members, I was fiddling with the technology here, but I think I'm fine now. This is the structure and the content of this presentation. Part one of the presentation will focus on bursaries. Bursaries, we're looking at both new entries and continuations. Our new entries, it's new students that we are taking in for the first time who are beneficiaries of this program, and we'd like to welcome them as we'll be working this journey with them over a period of a few years for those that will be doing multi-year qualifications. And then essentially, we are also looking at continuations, which are bursaries that already were given in the contracted last year, and now learners are still going to be contracted in the subsequent years. Item number 3 on bursaries is bursaries claims. Then how do you claim? What will trigger the first claim? Item number 4, bursaries completions. What entails a completion in the context of us when we say it is concluded? And then lastly, it is the contacts, meaning the colleagues who are working directly on these programs that you would need to contact to further have discussions beyond this particular platform. Part 2 of this presentation, it focuses on 2 programs. Essentially, it's your graduate placement and internship. And then number 2 will be focusing on what triggers tranche 1 for both internships and graduates. What triggers tranche 2 in terms of requirements that will make AgriSETA to pay the tranche 2. And then lastly, the contact details of colleagues on this platform who are working on this program. Moving on. The platform that we're actually engaging on here, it's members and actually colleagues from AgriSETA who have received approval letters and contracts. And our wish in terms of us, our project management cycle, it is for you to assist us in one thing and one thing only, that you give us all the necessary documents by the 31st of January 2023. That is your tax compliance status PIN or your tax clearance certificate, but most importantly, returned a duly signed 2-party contract, which is properly initialed and witnessed. That is what we would require. I would like members to remember that the 31st of January is the D-Day. The essential is that we have got a project management cycle where we need to actually fit these particular deliverables within a particular timeline, so that we should be able to pay you on time, so that you can actually pay for those learners at school. Most importantly, bullet point number 2, the assumption is that already you have submitted all the necessary documents. If you have submitted all the necessary documents by the 28th of February 2023, and we request that by that time learners should have been uploaded. And then, as I've pointed out earlier, that our colleague Joanna Masombuga will be taking you through the process to prepare you. It is not the first and the last process of preparing you to be able to load. If there are challenges over time, even after this session, we'll have a one-on-one session with yourselves so that we can take you through to make it easier for you to utilize the system. Once you have uploaded learners by the 28th of February 2023, inform AgriSETA of the status of learner upload upon completion. Our duty here will be to review everything that has been uploaded, to check whether it meets specific criteria of what it constitutes a duly completed and loaded program. In any case, if there are glitches, technical glitches, we do have a technical team that will be offering technical assistance to backstop anybody who's got a challenge so that we can move on in unison. Correction of documents and confirmation of registration will be made available once everything has been done. But correction will come in to say if there are challenges, we'll have colleagues that will actually be been introduced to assist you. We are moving on to the next slide. I hope I'm not going too fast. If I am, please just drop in the chat box so that I can slow down. Bursaries claims, first tranche. And the assumption is that every document has been submitted to trigger the first tranche. So we would request of you the beneficiary information sheet that is attached to the approval letter. That is number one. Learner information form signed by both the learner and the employer, which we have attached. Proof of registration from the learning institution for the learner. Certified copies of learner identity documents, which ultimately the certification must not be for more than 3 months. A complete full year fee structure, meaning that the learning institution where the student is going, we basically need a breakdown essentially of what it costs to actually run that particular qualification in the particular year, academic year in question, or in the particular year in question, which is 2023. Certified statement of account from the learning institution, I think it's repetitive. Copies of bursary contracts between the learner and the employer, also is required. I want to mention this, that we have got a contract that regulates and governs the relationship between all of us. AgriSETA has got an obligation to respect the material terms of the contract. So it is the employer's skills development facilitator who also has to do that. Meaning that failure for each of the parties to comply to the material terms of that agreement is in breach of contract. So we are requesting on your side to adhere to the material terms of this agreement. Because not adhering to the material terms of agreement is in contravention of our standard operating procedure on how we actually roll out our programs, especially bursaries in this instance. So we request of you to do that. But if there's a need to understand what specific clauses are referring to, you are more than allowed to contact AgriSETA, where we can give you an in-house interpretation of what those clauses actually are referring to. I'm moving on to the next slide. Bursaries completions. This slide moves on with the understanding that we have contracted, we have paid. Now the learner has run through the particular academic year or placement. What we are looking at now is the completion. The learner is about to complete the program. So we request of you to submit certified final statements of results for those that are in bursaries. Documents must be submitted 14 days after the completion of the course. The reason why we are actually putting specific days turnaround times, it is that we have got an obligation to run this program within a reasonable time in this financial year, unless something happens that is outside of our control. So meaning that whatever challenge that you would have in the implementation of the program, we are humbly requesting of you as our partners in this initiative to communicate on time so that we don't actually second guess what the challenges are, and we start moving around in circles looking for each other and having quite considerable complex discussions, which will actually have a negative impact in terms of how we roll out our programs. Termination letters. This is where a learner will get a job, drop out. Please inform us in writing so that the learner will be terminated correctly. Failure to undertake these things has got negative consequences on how we run our programs internally. And it actually demonstrates that we are going to have a challenge going forward because these are simplified ways of doing things. Hence, we are having this particular bilateral engagement with yourselves that we should be able to smoothly run the program. But hence, I pointed out this is not the first and the last engagement. You are more than welcome to consistently knock on the doors and we can have further clarifications on these matters. I'm moving on to the next slide. Bursaries contract details. We've got 2 colleagues in bursaries for both employed and unemployed learners. New bursaries, we've got Aus Andanium Pepu, that's her contact details. And then for continuation, she's on my left. And then continuation bursaries, extreme right, is Latifa Dube, and her contact details are there. In essence, that is the long and short of what bursaries constitute in terms of rolling them out. Without wasting more time, I would love to go to the second phase of the presentation, which is part 2. And I would like you to reserve questions, or even you can start throwing them into the chat box so that we prepare ourselves. Part 2 of the presentation covers the following. Part 2 covers graduate placement and internships. And then let's go to the slide. Internships and graduate placement. It is a 4-phased life cycle of a program. These are 2 projects essentially with similar characteristics to a greater extent. So the phases are as follows. You have to upload documents listed on page 2 of the approval letter. The approval letter has got a second page that outlines exactly what specific documents are required to be uploaded on the system. Those uploading those learners and having received confirmation from AgriSeta that learners have been uploaded, and having received confirmation that everything is fine, your first tranche, ultimately, it will be released. So let's move to the second tranche. The second tranche will be paid upon completion of the program. Essentially, what it basically means is that you will have to send completion letters to trigger second tranche for this program. And those second letters are the ones that we emphasize that the completions must come within 14 days of completion of the program to allow us to run the program without actual complexities and difficulties. So our submission timelines are quite very clear in this instance. We have given you two-party contracts for both internships and graduate placements. We request a valid tax clearance if you have it, / status pin of your tax matters. The due date with this one also, it is the 31st of January 2023, where that two-party contract and everything that we are actually mentioning in this bullet point is submitted. The implementation of the program, after submitting all what we require of you, programs must be fully implemented by the 28th of February 2023. Failure to do so will lead to possible cancellation of the award letter by AgriSeta. Make reference to section 6.1.8 of the discretionary grants contract, unless there is a valid reason that is provided for why did we get delayed. It is not of us trying to be very difficult to work together with you. It is the reality that we have got a short quarter with a concentrated workload where we need to upload learners and even report on the same learners in the current financial year in question. So we are appealing to your good selves as partners in this initiative that you allow us to actually be able to deliver quality and quantity consistently within the particular time frame. I'm moving to the next slide. Then what triggers tranche 1 of internship and graduate placement? These are the items. We need valid proof of banking details, not older than 3 months. It means it must have a date stamp. So the ultimately that validity would actually be authenticated through that particular type of submission. Completed workplace-based learning program agreement. There's an agreement that needs to be signed. Obviously, most of you who have participated in this program know what agreement it is, which actually is actually within the regulation that we need to comply with as AgriSeta. We request of your good selves to set aside time to do this because it can be tedious at times, especially given the fact that it's quite an intensive time of the year where students have to go and register, and our traffic flow in terms of workload and volumes is going to be significantly pick up and become very high. We need a letter from the institution where the learner is located, indicating the duration of the internship in this instance, or the graduate placement. It can easily be done by yourselves. We need a fully signed contract of employment between employer learner, and it must be witnessed. Witnesses must sign, and it must be properly initialed every page. We also want to emphasize one fundamental reality that we also paying a stipend, as you know correctly. But we request of your good selves to know that there are no unauthorized deductions that will be acceptable of us from learner stipends in this instance, because this is actually a stipend directed and actually made available for learners to be able to deal with it. So essentially that is the context of it. So we will request of you to actually give us a valid invoice, which constitutes 50%. The invoice must not be older than 30 days. AgriSeta will request that invoice. Don't submit it now. Once everything has been validated and whatever submissions that you have made has been validated to the extent that we should be able to satisfy ourselves that we don't have back and forth in terms of documents. We are going to the second slide. What triggers tranche number 2? This is the completion stage of the program. Proof of payment of learner stipend, monthly pay slips, bank statements that indicate that the learners have been paid for that particular period in time, or EFT reports, then we are fine. We would need a detailed progress report of a learner. AgriSeta has provided a template. Where there's terminations, learners dropped out and an act of God has happened, the learner passed away. We require you to inform us within a reasonable time that we can be able to terminate letters on the system. We will also need proof of all stipends paid after claiming the second tranche, which will be verified through pay slips, letters of completions and terminations, This is the responsibility of employers to submit completion letters to AgriSeta within 14 days after the completion of the program. So this is internship and graduate placement, which is basically means that it is easier for the employer to give us this requirement, these letters of termination or completions within 40 days, because it is within your control, because the learners are within your premises or your place of employment. We want to emphasize that failure to submit completion documents may lead to AgriSeta not granting further projects, because here we've got a timeline that we're working in. We are so tightly running this program within the confines of a financial year, which needs to actually bend the budget that you have committed in the current financial year. And you are yourselves as partners, you are a mechanism of delivering this particular learning in terms of graduate placement, bursaries, and internships. We rely extensively on you to actually comply within the reasonable terms that we have provided. But I'm emphasizing that if there's anything that is difficult, let us know on time so that we should be able to find alternatives of dealing with those matters. These are the contact details of two colleagues who are dealing with graduate placement and internships. It's Mr. Akona Matlati on my right. His contact details are here. Graduate placement, extreme left, is Miriam Maroviane, her contact details are there. So essentially what we'd like to point out to you is that you still have an opportunity to further engage with colleagues that are dealing with this program at a point in time when you're actually doing your submissions or you need clarity on something. So we will make available a recording. I think it's going to be on YouTube, firstly, and secondly, the presentation will also be made available by our IT division. Without wasting of time, we'll take questions for clarifications or anything else. Thank you. Open it. How do I go to questions? Q&A. Chats. I've just opened our chat box here. Okay. Henley Wickham, what is a completion letter? I would request my colleagues who are working in bursaries and then to actually indicate exactly and then to respond to what is a completion letter. No, sorry. Oh, internships and graduate, apologies, completion letter. Akona will respond to that. Okay.
Internship, in fact, the completion letter is the letter that will be drafted by the stakeholders that indicate that the learners completed the training. Thank you.
Thanks, Akona, regarding that. It's a document or a letter that is drafted by the employer from the presentation, the response is just given. Would further look for any other further questions for clarifications or any other questions, direct questions to that effect. And then if there is nothing to that effect, we can confidently indicate to you that further conversation will be taking place with directed project managers internally with their contacts that are mentioned on this presentation. And then I'm not so sure if we can allow call our colleague, Johanna Masumbuka, if there's no further questions or if there's no further clarifications that are required. And then, yeah. There is a question from Kadiba Loy to everyone. The question is, in terms of proof of payment of stipend, do we have to submit both the pay slip and proof of payment from the bank? The answer is yes from the floor. Thank you. Okay. Okay, there's a question from Jacqueline Mashele. Banking details required, comma, are those from the employer or the learning institutions? Banking details that are required are for the employer that we have given money or the SDF, demonstrating that indeed payment has been made, I think, to that effect. Because that's where we need to see whether there's actual payment that that was made to that effect. There's also a question from Trabombani. There is a section on the two-party contract that talks about 84%. Can you please elaborate on that? Granny, I can leave this to you.
The answer to the question is that in terms of the discretionary grant agreement, the employer is entitled to deduct 16% as administration fee. So meaning that only 84% will go to the learner as a stipend. Thank you.
There's another question, colleagues, is proof of from Ben, I can give it. Is proof of payment once in 6 months? That is the question. Thank you. The question from Ben to everyone is this: is the proof of payment once in 6 months or every month? Maybe let me put it.
Remember the second tranche, it's due after 6 months since the commencement of the program. So when you submit the second claim, you need to provide the proof of payment for the past 6 months as well.
Yeah, the response is that you need to trigger the second tranche payment, you need to provide proof of payment for the first 6 months of the year in terms of what you have paid to the learner. Any further questions or clarifications that is short? Before we move to skills planning and research, I was Joanna Masombuka to take you through the learner uploading process journey in this instance. Yeah, without the other question from SP Memelo to everyone, do we submit the second tranche payment after 6 months or we need to wait for the SETA to initiate? The answer is after 6 months with all the necessary documents proving completion. So without wasting much time, if there's additional questions, you can drop them into the chat box. Once you've dropped them into the chat box, we are going to respond, and we are encouraging further direct engagements with individual members on the platform who will also be assisting in this instance. Without wasting much time, I'm calling 2 colleagues who are going to take you through the uploading of learner journey on the system. Thank you. I'll introduce Joanna Masombuka. They are coming to join us on the stage. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, colleagues. Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Johanna Masombuka. I'm from the Skills Planning and Research Department. I'm with my colleague, Kgaugelo Mokgalaka, who will be doing the presentation, showing you on how to capture on Indesium. But before we can go there, I just want to share a form because before you can capture the learner or register the learner on our system, you need to get the credentials, password, and a username. So there's a form, I'm not sure if it's, yes, there's a form that you need to complete. The first part, it's the user details, personal details, name of the company / institution. And there's a second part where it says part 1 up until part 5. You ignore that part, then you go to the last part where it needs the details for the either your manager or whoever who's responsible for approving such form. Yeah, I think from my side, I'm done. My colleague Kgaugelo will take you through the capturing. We'll start with the bursary. Then after bursary, we will do the internship. Thank you.
Good day, colleagues. My name is Kgaugelo Mokgalaka. I'm going to go through the process of Indesium on how to register or capture the learner on Indesium. I'm going to start with a bursary. On the system, you need to go to Indesium on our website, AgriSETA website. By the right corner, you'll find the Indesium slot there that you need to click on. After you have clicked on, this is what is going to appear. There's credentials that you need to put in before this one appears. So if this one appears, you need to select the admin LP on your Indesium and then select the role. From selecting the role, then you go to AgriQA. From AgriQA, then you're going to start up by creating a new learner on the person slot. You're going to click there and then create. You're going to click create. So on this one, colleagues, you need to enter the ID number of a student. So since I'm going to show you how you do it, I'm not going to put on the ID number, but to show you how it's done. And then on the title, you're going to put in which, if it's a female or a male. In this case, let me put Miss. First name, let me put Kgaugelo. And the same name. If the learner has 2 names, you're going to put in the middle name on the slot middle name. So the date of birth of the learner, the gender, female or male, the equity, are you going to state if either the person, the learner is African Black, colored Black, or Indian or white? On the disability slot, you're going to put, if the learner has a disability, then you're going to choose on these options that we have here. And then if the learner doesn't have disability, then you're going to select none. And here is the home language of the learner, the nationality of a learner as well. This one will appear more especially if the learner is not from South Africa. Then this is going to come up, and then you're going to select from here. This is a slot where you have to choose either it's a permanent resident or other. The socioeconomics are 18.1 and 18.2. 18.2 is unemployed, and then 18.1 is employed. So I'm going to choose unemployed. Here you're going to put in the number of the learner, the cell phone number of a learner. And here you're going to put the cell phone number of a learner. Fax is optional and email is also optional. Physical code of where the learner is staying, of the postal code. This is how it's going to look after you have filled in the information of a physical code. If the learner has a postal code, you are also going to put in the postal code. But if the learner has only a physical code, then you're going to use the same as above by clicking here. The last school that the learner has attended, you're going to click here and scroll up. And then you're going to put in the school and choose. So in other time, you'll find out that the learner the learner school doesn't appear on the system. You're going to, this is the other option that you should choose. You're going to put in the 400 on top of the code and click in search. After you have clicked in search, you're going to select between the three names that you find here. In this case, I'm just going to say unable to find the school in SA. If you can't find the school, the learner school on the system. If the learner is from outside, this is what you're going to select as well. On the last year of school attended, you're going to select the year that the learner has last been in matric or high school. The starter area code is the area, the town where the learner is staying. In this case, I'm going to say Pretoria because I'm currently in Pretoria. On the POPI Act status, this is where you're going to agree that whatever that you have captured here is correct and you agree with what you have said. And the POPI Act status date is the date of today, the date that you have captured or registered the learner on the system, which is the 20th of January. And then you're going to save. There you go. And then the person is done. So the next step will be you're going to copy in the ID number of the learner. Then you're going to go to AgriQA and press the learner slot. Remember that everything on person and learner you need to create first before you can search. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the learner on a learner. So we're going to press create, punch in the ID, search. Then the learner will appear here. Then you create. After then it will take you to the registration, program registration. This is what you're going to select, program registrations. So since I said that we are going to start with bursary, what I'm gonna do, we're going to select bursaries and add. So on this slot, you need to add, you need not to search or add other things here, but to press add bursaries here. Then this will appear. The NSDS here is, remember at the beginning I said to you guys, there's employed, there's unemployed. Unemployed is 18.2, employed is 18.1. So on Indesium, unemployed is 4.1 and employed is 2.8. So in this case, because on the learner section, I punched unemployed here, I'm going to punch 4.1, which is unemployed. The year, since the learner is a new learner, it's going to be year one. Here, since it's a new learner, it's a new enrollment. Sponsorship, since you have been awarded the funds from AgriSETA, you're going to select AgriSETA funded. The SIC code, you're just going to punch search, and then the descriptions of codes will appear here. Here you can just select any of this description. We don't have any description that says you can just select from, but any description here is correct. So you can just punch any and select. Project number. With this one, you need to be careful with the financial year and financial year. Here in bursary, I'm going to select, you're going to need to search and go down. With this one, you need to go, we're going to go to the 2021-2022. Remember now, when you register the learner, you're going to showcase that the learner is undergrad or postgrad. So with this one, I'm going to select undergrad 18.2. Do not forget that undergrad 18.2 means undergrad unemployed. So the unique number here, it will appear automatically after you have saved everything. The bursary date is the date that the learner is going to start the bursary with. So in this case, I'm just going to press today's date. And the bursary end date will be the date that the learner will finish the year. So in this case, I'm going to press December because of the financial year. So the bursary status means the learner will be registered, completed, pending, or termination. But in your case, you need to put in pending. So when it comes to us, it will be like this on pending authorization. The status effective date is the day, it's today's date, the day that you have captured the learner. So it's going to be the 20th. Completion slot, you don't put anything because the learner is new, has not completed anything. So you leave it as it is. Social economic status as the employed or unemployed. Remember with this one, we have selected unemployed, so we're going to select unemployed. The highest education that the learner has registered for is a degree. So I'm going to put on a degree. Level degree, it's 7. So the learning program, I'm going to put in the course that the learner is doing. Bachelor of Business. So the OFO of Bachelor of Business, you need to type in the description here. in this case, you need to type in anything that goes together with the bachelor. In this case, I'm going to type in the business. So it's going to take me straight to the FO of O codes. There's business administrator. When you're going to select. On RPL learner, it's always a no. And then here you're going to put in the money that the learner is being awarded to. And then here is a name of an institution, the college or the school, the university. So you're going to put in here all the provider's name. Most of the bursaries, the institution is the college or the university. So I'm going to put in my institution. Then select. The employer. On the employer, you have to type in here the legal name or even on the trade name. Select, and then the qualification here. You're going to type fully the Bachelor of Business, the one that the learner is doing at school. Then you're going to search here, Bachelor of Business and Administration, and select. So with this one here, it's basically saying that the learner work-based or the learner form information that you need to upload here with a copy of an ID learner that has been certified and the highest qualification of a learner. But with bursary, what we do, we need a learner information, copy of certified ID on the first slot that you need to upload and upload it. And then on the second one, proof of registration, to prove that the learner has been registered on that institution. And then you're going to upload it as well. Here we're going to need proof of employment, employment contract between the learner and the employer. So it has to be on this slot, signed both by the learner and the employer. And then after we have done with that, this slot, you leave it alone because it says here, you're going to put in only if there's a termination or completion letter. But since the learner is a new enrollment, she or he doesn't need to be having a completion or a termination letter, unless otherwise in future they have to terminate the learner's contract. And then you're going to press save. And press again. You need to press twice in order for it to save. So if it has saved, it will automatically tell you here that saved has been successful. So because sometimes we have Indesium network, you need to come here on the bursary slot and check it to see if the learner is registered. So here it proves that the learner has been registered. Any questions so far before I could move on to internship? All right, so this was the new enrollment. Let me show you guys how you register a continuation learner. So in this case, the learner has already been registered here as a new learner. What I'm going to do, you're going to add again here. Add bursary. Go to the NSDS 4.1 since it's unemployed. And then the year will be second. Remember the first one was year one. So this one will be year two, meaning that the learner is continuing with the course. So here you're going to press continuation instead of new enrollment. The sponsorship, SETA funded. The CI code, you're going to press search, press any description here. The financial year, you have to scroll down to find the exact financial year of bursary. Remember, you don't just choose anything, you need to go and choose the financial year. The start date of the bursary and the end date of the bursary. Here you're going to put on pending. The start effective date will be today's date, the date that you have captured the learner in. And then completion slot, you need to leave it alone because the learner is still continuing. So the learner has not completed the degree yet. The socioeconomic status will be unemployed. The highest qualification, degree, NQL level 7, the program, BA. The OFO codes, business, then you're going to click there. RPL learner is always no, then the amount, name of an institution, again, the same things that you have put in, you need to put on the continuation as well. Remember that the learner information that is on the hard copy needs to correspond with the one that is on the Indesium. The dates, the everything that is on the hard copy needs to be the same as on the Indesium. The employer, the qualification, the attachments, the learner document as well, ID copy that is certified. Remember, guys, that the ID copy needs to be visible. The numbers and the names needs to be visible. Proof of registration and contract between the learner and the employer. Then you're going to save. You press twice, so it can save. So to make sure, you need to go up on bursary to check if the learner appears there twice. Any questions so far? All right, so we're going to register the learner on internship. So I'm going to use the same learner to show you guys. We're going to go again to AgriQA, person. Remember, this one is already registered, so it's going to appear. So you guys, every time when you start with person, you need to create. From create, you're going to save. And then you're going to go again to learner, create. You start with person. Remember here, you put in the learner's ID. The initial. If the learner has two names, you can put the two names. The second name can be on the middle name slot, and the date of birth, the gender of the equity as well. If the learner is black, colored, Indian, or white. The disability, if the learner has disability, you're going to choose here. But if the learner doesn't have a disability, you're going to choose none. So in capturing internship and a graduate on Indesium, the process are the same. In internship and graduate on Indesium, the processes are just the same. There's nothing different there. So when you capture, the only thing that you're going to choose on the program registration is the program that the learner is in. The home language, nationality. Here you've got options that you are able to choose depending on what the learner is on the learner information. Unemployed, telephone number, fax and email, they are optional. Physical code. If the learner is using one address, then you can use just click here, same as above. The last school that the learner has attended, you're just going to type the last school. Obviously, the learner would have mentioned it on the learner information. Sorry, the network on Indesium, it's delaying. Okay, fine, you're going to select the school. Remember, if you don't find the school on the institution name on Indesium, you're going to press 000 and search. And then here you're going to select whichever you see that you can't find. If the school can be found in South Africa, or the school you can find it outside South Africa, and then you're going to select one option here. The last year of the school attended. The starter code is the area where the learner is staying. Pretoria. POPI status, here you have to agree with whatever information that you have captured here, you agree with it. And the POPI status day is today's date, the date that you are capturing the learner. Then you're going to save. So these are the required slots that you need to fill in. If you don't fill in, it won't save. It won't be like this. You need to fill in everything that is required so that it can be able to save. So here it is, it has saved. Now we're going to go to the next step of learners. You need to create this person to a learner. Click learner. Remember, everything that you start, you need to create. If it's new, you go to create new. Then you punch in the ID, search, select, and create. Then it will take you to program registration. Then you're going to select program registrations. And then we're going to go to internship, add internship. So remember here, with graduate and internship, the same process that you're going to do are the same between the two programs, graduate and internship. So here we're going to choose internship. If the learner is on internship, you're going to choose internship. If the learner is on graduate, you're going to choose graduate. And then you add graduated internship there. NSDS are 4.1 are all unemployed. So you don't need to select anything yet, it's already there for you. The sponsorship, AgriSeta, the SII code, IC code, you're going to select search and pick any from here as well. The financial year, remember the financial year has to be correct. So you're going to choose the current year or the year that the learner has registered. So we're going to go to internship 2021-2022. The unique number code will appear once you have done capturing and saved. The start date is the day that the learner has started. The end date as well. The status, you're going to put it on pending. The highest qualification. The comment it's not important. You just need to leave it as it is. You don't need to put anything there. The status effective date is today's date, the date that you have captured the learner. The socioeconomic status is going to be unemployed. Don't forget what is here. You need to put the same as here. The OFO code. Business. RPL learner, always no. Name of an institution. Name of employer. The amount and the qualification. With internship, you need to upload the letter from the institution, the learner documents, which is the workplace-based form, the ID copy that is certified, and the highest qualification that is certified as well. The proof of placement is the employment letter from the employer. You're only going to use these two slots. The third one is for completion or termination. Then you're going to save. Don't forget to save twice. Then once you have saved, it will show this, and then you need to go up just to check if the learner is registered. So here the learner is registered as an internship. Is there any questions that you guys need to ask concerning the Indesium and registering of a learner? There are. The first question that I read is from Anima Reyes. Yes, the first log that you need to upload needs to have a work-based form, the ID copy that is certified, and qualification that is certified on the first slot. The other question is from Christabel. Yes, Christabel, you need to scan every learner information, qualification, and ID on your computer so that you can be able to scan together to be able to upload on the system on a slot, one slot for those documents.
It says, are you going to supply us with work-based contracts? Okay, the answer is the workplace based contract was sent out together with the approval letters and the contract. So you should be having them. However, if you don't have it, you can just send us a blank email or we will forward it to you.
Okay, colleagues, if you have more questions to ask regarding this, our emails and phone numbers are attached on the chat, so you can call us and ask. If you are lost, we will help you. And the link of this presentation will be shared on YouTube and other websites. Colleagues, we are almost done. If you have more questions, more information that you need to know, you are all welcome to call us and email us. The presentation of this today's workshop will be on our website, will also be our YouTube, so you can check there. Anything that you need to ask or need clarification with, you can contact us. We are available anytime. I'm gonna call on Mr. Mudubi to come and wrap up. Unmute. Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna start with this one from Uben. What do you do when a graduate has no certificate due to unpaid fees?
Okay, to answer the question from Ben, in a case where the learner does not have a certificate of their qualification due to unpaid fees, the learner needs to go to the university to request for a letter confirming that they've completed the qualification.
Okay, the second one is from Mariette. tertiary institutions are very slow with their certificate, especially TVET colleges who have to get them from.
Is it a question? Tertiary institutions are very slow with the certificate, especially. Okay, this one, I think it's more, it's more like a comment, not a question.
Let's go to the third one is from Ben. Is there a standard employee and employer contract that is used for graduates programs?
No, we don't have a standard employment contract. So as the employer, you need to draft a template for yourself.
Okay, and the last one will be from Matawela. With regards to internships, so of the learners can access their academic records due to fees outstanding, what do we do in terms of capturing?
Okay. In a case, as I mentioned, in a case where the learner is unable to get the certificate, he needs to request a letter confirming that they've completed the qualification. And when you upload the learner documents or register the learner on the Indicium, you need to attach that letter as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, esteemed members of the employers and SDFs. We honestly appreciate the fact that you stood up with us until this time of the afternoon on a Friday. We know that there's actually other commitments that would actually have taken you elsewhere. But be that as it may, we actually appreciate the fact that you, working together with yourselves, a dynamic team of professionals in the field that you do to drive the skills revolution. Our emphasis is that let us actually do this to work together, but essentially let us actually beat our own record of quality turnaround times in terms of what we need to deliver. And we'll appreciate that and we'll be very proud of ourselves in terms of driving this particular program together to essentially to improve and contribute to sufficient impact in the skills revolution that we're actually trying to achieve. We really appreciate your time. And then most importantly, I think I'll say our goodbyes from the whole team, obviously from the CEO on his behalf in his absence, but most importantly, the team is still available to directly engage with you one-on-one on any other matter that relates to what we had today. Drive safely, have a beautiful weekend, and all the best. Thank you.